When you're learning jazz guitar at 50, you can't do it the same way you would at 18. You don't have 3 hours a day to practice scales and exercises. You need a more efficient approach that quickly builds a repertoire and skills so you can start having fun. I mean, that's the point, right? I'm Dr. George. I've been playing and teaching jazz guitar for years, and I've helped hundreds of students make better music. My mission is to make jazz guitar simple enough so that you can start playing now. We'll be looking at what I call the top-down approach to learning jazz. We start with the big picture. You learn techniques that enable you to play with style and confidence using your ear and what you already know. And then with each new song, you'll learn new skills and gradually narrow your focus, adding more details. You may not want to hear this, but the most important thing that you need to be doing is training your ear. Pat Metheny said that's what it's all about. Patterns and licks can tell you where to put your fingers, but it's your ears that tell you why and when to play a note. When your ears are in charge, you'll play better music. It might be simpler at first, but it will be music that you hear and feel. It'll come from here and here rather than here. Now, we're not talking about traditional ear training, though that won't hurt. It's simply doing things that will connect your ears to your fingers. Before you start worrying about notes, you need to learn the style of jazz. The two main elements of the style are the groove and the articulations. Two grooves that everyone needs to know are swing and Latin. As a guitarist, you need to handle these both when comping and playing single notes. You need to be able to lock into the groove when playing with a rhythm section or set it when you're playing solo. For single note lines, how you play the notes is more important than what notes you play, especially for beginners. These are called articulations, but I think of it as the accent of jazz. Just like the dialects of language, each type of music has its own unique accent. This goes hand in hand with training your ear. To learn the style, you have to listen and hear how the notes are played. You want to play music and have fun doing it. That means learning songs. Fortunately, you can learn everything you need while assembling your repertoire, and you can build on what you already know to get started fast. First, you have to choose the right songs. You should start with easy songs. Don't be fooled by melodies. A song like All the Things You Are has an easy melody, but soloing over the changes is pretty tough. You want songs that are in one key with mostly diatonic chords to start. Now, most people suggest starting with Autumn Leaves. It's a good tune for beginners, but I think a better choice is a riff blues, because it builds on what you already know, blues and the minor pentatonic scale, and it makes it easier to begin connecting the ears and the fingers. Let's take a look at Sunny Moon for Two by Sonny Rollins. We'll start out by learning songs by ear. If you're old like me, that's probably how you learned rock and blues anyway, right? There are a lot of benefits to learning by ear. First, of course, it trains your ear, but you'll also learn more about the style. It makes songs easier to remember. It improves the phrasing in your solos, and you won't get lost. So we'll start with the melody. Use the LMS method. In college, that meant learning management system, but here it means listen, memorize, and sing. Listen to some versions of the song and memorize the melody. Then sing it. Now it'll be pretty easy to learn how to play. Now, before you try to play the melody, it's helpful to know a scale. You should only focus on the scales needed for the tune. In Sunny Moon for Two, you can use the minor pentatonic scale. But instead of the standard boxes, you might want to try these patterns. They were shown to me by a jazz guitarist years ago, and you can even hear how Kenny Burrell uses them on his album Midnight Blue. The first one combines box 1 and 2. And then the second pattern combines box 4 and 5. And between the two of them, you can cover the entire neck. So I've memorized the song and I can sing it, so now I'll play the notes. Now, that might be the way I'd play it if I was learning it from sheet music, but because I'm learning it by ear, I'm going to try to play it a little bit more like Sonny did. This is what style's all about. Notice how the notes are attacked. Some of them are long, some of them are short, some louder, some softer, and the last part of the phrase he plays well behind the beat to really give it some attitude. Now here's the cool thing. Listen to another player and it'll be different. In fact, even Sonny played it different on another recording. That's the beauty of jazz. You'll learn the chords by ear too. Start with the roots of the chords. With the blues, it's pretty easy as there are only so many options. In Sunny Moon, it's one of the most common variations. The chords on standards will be a little bit more challenging, but if you're stuck, that's a good time to go ahead and use the fake book. You'll use shell voicings to play the chords. Shell voicings are 3-note chords with roots and 2 other notes that will define the chord, usually the 3rd and 7th, but also sometimes the 4th or the 6th. There are only 12 forms, 6 each, with the root on the 5th string and the 6th string. Now, if you know bar chords, you should have little trouble finding them. If you play with a bass player, you can drop the roots, and then you only need 3 shapes. Now, these aren't dumbed-down chords. I use them on every gig, and they're the basis for hundreds of other chords. So now back to the style. There are 4 basic swing groups: the 4-beat, the 2-beat, the Charleston, and the Woodside. These help you learn the feel, and you'll throw them into your comping. But understand, comping in jazz isn't like playing rhythm guitar in rock. It's improvised, so with the exception of the 4-beat, you really don't want to get locked into any of these. For soloing, once again, we're going to build on what you know. You start with the minor pentatonic scale. Now remember, it's just a framework. You can add notes as your ears dictate, but there are more important things. Phrasing, developing your ideas, and shaping the solo. Get these right and you're going to sound fine, no matter what notes you play. Solos are like telling a story, so phrases are like sentences. And we have different kinds of punctuation, commas, full stops, and so on. Your lines need to have a beginning and an end. And you want to avoid, and things like that. Keeping the melody in mind can help. And you can also use call and response ideas, where you play one idea and respond to another. When the lines get too long, they often lose their groove, so you have to make sure that you're leaving some space. Just remember to breathe. You're telling a story, so you want to develop your ideas just like the characters in a book. On Angel Eyes from Jim Hall's great live album, he starts out his solo with this very simple lick, and then proceeds to develop it for the next 16 bars. But at the very end of the solo, he plays the lick again. He was thinking about it the whole time. Another example is Sonny Rollins on St. Thomas. The first 2 choruses are based on this simple idea. The key to development is repetition and variation. This can be pitch, rhythm, articulation, dynamics, or a combination of them. So here are a couple of developments you can use. One is to keep the notes and change the rhythm. And another is to keep the rhythm and change the notes. Now, a good rule of thumb is that when you repeat something twice, if you're going to repeat it a 3rd time, you should change it somewhat. And finally, you want to have some form and shape to your solos. Solos should have a definite length. When you're a beginner, 1 and 2 chorus solos are what you should be practicing. It takes a while before you can go beyond that. Start your solos simply, and then build intensity until you get to a high point and then come to a close. So what are you waiting for? Start learning songs. Here are 5 great tunes to get you started. There are Latin and swing grooves, and each one offers a chance to learn something new. So some final thoughts. 1, stay focused on the tune. Follow the pro's lead and only learn what you need to be able to play it better. And remember, focus on the music, not the guitar. The guitar is just the tool we use to make the music we love. So if you're ready to get started, you'll want to check out these videos.